Hey, what is up, you guys? It's Silver Fang, and today I'm back with another video. So I was going through my YouTube feed, right, and I found this video. Uh, don't quote me on this, but the full title is Shiro versus Shiro: How the Adaptation Changed the Perspective of the Fandom, something along those lines. And I clicked, and it looked interesting to me, so I click on it, and I hear like the first 30 to 40 seconds of the video, and the first thing he said clicked with me. Like, yes, I used to be one of these people. And I used to get like a lot of comments from people from the visual novel, uh, telling me that he was way different in the novel, and that he's the adaptation fucked him up or whatever. So like, I used to be one of these people. So, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. So I was like, I should make a video on this because this video sounds pretty interesting, and I feel like it's gonna help a lot of people that just watch the anime. Like myself, when I first started, I was only interested in the anime. I wasn't interested in the games. I wasn't interested in the visual novels. So when I started with Faye, I was just like anime based, and like the anime, the way it represents Shiro, and he'll say it in a moment here. It represents him as like stubborn or stupid, or you know if you've seen the anime, right? So basically, in this video, he's gonna talk about how is he different from the visual novel and the anime adaptation. How are they different? So this is gonna be pretty interesting. I'm not gonna talk too much. I just gotta remind you guys, if you like the video, please like, please drop me a like. It'll really help me out a lot. It'll really support the channel. Also, please subscribe to the channel. As I mentioned in all the videos that I've done for the past month, when I hit 500 subs, I'm gonna start reacting to the fake, strange, fake manga. So if you guys want to see that, please hit the subscribe button. The manga right now is looking pretty damn lit. You guys have been sending me messages. I've seen some of the characters that are in there, and it's looking like one of the best Fate works to date. So if you guys want to see me react to those, I haven't seen anything. All I know is what you guys have told me. So if you guys want to see that, please hit the subscribe button. So with that being said, let's just jump right into the video.
Shiro Emiya is, without hyperbole, one of the most misunderstood characters I've encountered in quite some time. Based on my own experience, whenever I ask fans of the visual novel what they think of Shiro, I tend to get a wide variety of interesting interpretations. Alternatively, however, fans of the anime adaptations predominantly deride his character for being stubborn, reckless, and stupid. Not exclusively, mind you, but this seems to be the consensus. And with that in mind, I want to explore why there's such a stark difference in how his...
So basically, I used to be one of these people that would say sure is reckless, sure is stupid. Especially when I was doing my, I remember I got so mad when um Caster, this was from Unlimited Blade Works, and I said it in the review that I did for those episodes. I was so mad when Caster took Saber from Shiro. I don't know if you remember that scene, but basically they were fighting in a bridge, and basically Saber was taken from Shiro, and I felt like, in my mind, I felt like that it was Shiro's fault. And I remember saying in those reviews, like, oh my god, Shiro's so dumb. He could have done this. He could have done that. And looking back on it, and I remember a lot of you guys were telling me like, no, if he would have done that, this would happen because In the novel, it says this and this and that. So basically, the anime adaptation didn't do justice for Shiro. Pretty much, like it definitely made him seem like a lot less interesting than he actually is. And I've read some stuff about Shiro, and I've seen a lot of videos on Shiro, which have changed my perspective on Shiro, which I had from just watching the anime.
Perceived by fans of the source material and its adaptations, as well as do a bit of digging into Shiro's character in order to help the audience understand him better. We will primarily be looking at the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works adaptation animated by Studio Ufotable, as is the most well-known and relevant regarding this issue. Also, please note that there is no official translation for the Fate Stay Night visual novel, and that I must use an unofficial, fan-translated version provided by Mirror Moon back in 2009. To get the ball rolling, we're going to be looking at the Archer versus Caster fight set in Honoji Temple. Just prior to the battle, Shiro had been captured by Caster. Then
I remember
Archer makes
this.
an appearance and attempts to save Shiro against his better judgment. During this scene, Shiro remarks to Archer that he doesn't need his help and to
Which he clearly did,
as he
which
him.
comes
To
with
Archer
the
obliges and
stubborn,
kicks him away from yet another
which was
attack,
funny as hell too.
ironically saving Shiro once again. This scene in particular is like a microcosm of what anime fans dislike about Shiro, because it emphasizes the three main sticking points mentioned earlier. Shiro yelling
Stupid,
at and refusing to accept Archer's help comes across as both stubborn and reckless, because despite the fact that he's up against
And
someone
stupid.
floating in the air, raining down giant magical death lasers, he'd prefer to do things himself rather than logically accepting help. With these two perceived qualities clashing together, it inevitably makes Shiro appear as very stupid, especially when you consider that
Little bit,
Shiro
yeah.
is, for all intents and purposes, a normal human being, one who is up against a servant, a magical being of great power that far surpasses anything Shiro is currently capable of. In this instance, Archer, who is similarly a servant like Caster, is literally Shiro's only real hope of survival. When looking at the anime's interpretation of the scene, it becomes very easy to see why Shiro is looked down upon as this bumbling buffoon. However, things are noticeably different when we take a look at the source material. Initially,
See, this is
the
what
spoken
this is what I
dialogue
wanted to look at.
Shiro replies to Archer's help by saying,
Just let go of me. I can take care of this myself. I don't need your help.
However, unlike the anime, we also get a glimpse into Shiro's thought process, which contextualizes this piece of dialogue.
I've been saved, but I just can't accept this. No, more than that, I can't stand to be a burden on him. Archer should have been able to escape by now, if he were by himself. But the exit is further now that he came to save me. He must be an easy target for Caster, as she is above us.
What may initially come across as the
Wow.
actions of an imbecile both
That's crazy. That's crazy because animes are usually known for their long internal monologue, as especially shown in series like Death Note, where you spend minutes upon minutes, right, going over somebody's thought process. And usually this happens a lot in anime. And for this one, for the adaptation, which was a crucial part to Shiro, to Shiro's character, they didn't do it, which is incredibly dumb, and it made Shiro look so stupid when in reality he just was concerned for Archer. So that's crazy.
interesting, as if he can handle an opponent he can't possibly compare to. It is in fact the conflicted emotional outburst of an individual that feels a potent sense of personal guilt over being saved by someone that put themselves in danger in order to do so. However,
That's
to
crazy.
truly understand
And that
Shiro,
goes along
we're going to have
better
to dig
with
deeper
Shiro's
into
character.
the psychology of his character to gain a stronger understanding of his mindset. First off, it should be noted that Shiro has a pitifully low level of self-worth, which ties to his survivor's guilt, as revealed in a flashback later on in the story. For those unaware, survivor's guilt is a mental condition in which the individual feels as if they've done something wrong for surviving
for
a
surviving.
traumatic event when others did not. This
So like basically, just taking it back a little bit to that scene with Archer versus Caster, like basically the way they showed it in the actual novel, that goes a lot better with Shiro's character, because Shiro is the type of character that hates others putting themselves in danger to save him. So instead of being stubborn, like it made it seem in the anime, because in the anime it just seemed like he was just stubborn and he was just refusing to be saved by Archer. Like that's how it looked in the anime, which would have been incredibly stupid. But in the novel, it showed different.
That Shiro experienced as a child. A trauma that even a fully grown adult would find difficult to cope with becomes astronomically more severe for a young child. As such, his survivor's guilt manifests itself in a way where he shows a clear disregard for his own life, greatly in favor of saving others.
Saving others, yeah.
Shiro has conditioned himself for several years now into thinking that he should use his life for the sake of others above all else, and that it doesn't matter if he loses his life in the process, because by his measurement, he didn't deserve to survive the initial trauma to begin with. To
That's
truly
crazy.
encapsulate this feeling and therefore reveal the core of survivor's guilt and understand why Shiro went down this dark mental road, it is as if to ask the question, why did I survive when everyone else died? To
Yeah, pretty
further
much.
understand Shiro's struggle with his survivor's guilt, it is important to bring up a dating event that occurs later on in the story between Shiro, Rin, and Saber. During this event, Shiro realizes
Shiro was
that he is
kinda
actually enjoying himself, and
Shiro was kinda
decided
going out
that
with both of them at the same
this
time.
is what entered his mind.
It was really fun. A town I only used to walk by. I didn't know all the things I didn't involve myself in were so meaningful. As soon as I think so, something like a cage falls on me, and I understand. I don't deserve this. I'm worthy of all this. It tells me so from deep down within me.
This inner monologue in particular is an extremely pivotal piece of the puzzle in regards to understanding Shiro's survivor's guilt, something that is completely missing in the anime adaptation. In the anime,
Wow.
it is almost exclusively portrayed as a fun dating episode, where
That's crazy. That's crazy. So basically, just from those two scenes alone that he's mentioned in this video, I can see that in the novel there was so much character development for Shiro that we didn't see in the anime adaptation, which is crazy. Damn. So yeah, like the novel, definitely the source material is way better, at least with Shiro, when it comes to character progression.
the three of them go out into the town and have a good time. One could almost argue that it was even filler content, because it didn't serve much purpose for the
For real, it
plot.
looked like a
However,
filler
this
episode.
monologue very clearly defines the purpose of the event.
Which, by the way, on the side note, I know most of you are gonna agree with me, but don't you hate when seasonal anime include filler episodes? Like, and I don't want to go on a tangent here, but like, dude, like you only have 12. Some only do 12, and some do 24, but you only have a number of episodes to get your story across, and you're gonna waste it on filler. Like, it happens. Like, I seen it a lot. Like, and sometimes one that comes to mind, it was like the last season of My Hero Academia, where there were a couple filler episodes after the the what was it, the All for One arc? I think it was after the All for One. No, 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 no. I'm bugging. I'm bugging. Um, After they saved the little girl, right? When they were over with the arc, there were a whole bunch of filler episodes, like 3 of them or 4. I don't remember exactly how many, but that is annoying.
Just a silly break for the characters to blow off steam. The narrative significance is to crystallize Shiro's broken psyche for the reader. He can't even enjoy a simple day off, going out
That's
with
crazy.
friends, and not punish himself for it in the process.
Yeah, that's insane.
Honestly, who can blame him? His survivor's guilt is a difficult mental burden for anyone to shoulder, made all the worse by him experiencing the trauma as a young child, which severely affected his mental state for the rest of his life. Now, without revealing the traumatic event itself, it's important to note that this adds another layer to Shiro's actions, as well as informs us to the nature of his inner monologues. Going back to the line, "I can't stand to be a burden on him," in this instance specifically, it relates to how he can't accept someone else going out of their way
Your
for
way
him,
to save him,
as
yeah.
his self-worth is such that being saved causes him to feel the same sense of guilt that was caused by surviving the initial trauma.
It's pretty
Guilt
much like what
that
he
someone would
wants
willingly put themselves in
is
danger for his
to
sake,
die
by his own
while
measurement, his
saving
life is
others.
worth less by
That's
default.
pretty much like
That
his
being
life
said,
goal,
I want
pretty
to make
much.
this point very clear. Shiro is not suicidal. Shiro is
Because
not
he
actually
says
trying to end his own life.
he's not trying to actively end his life, but he's trying to save everyone. As we know, that is impossible. So basically, his end goal is to pretty much save as many people as possible until he pretty much dies. Like, I don't even see Shiro's desire to save people stopping, even if he gets to like old age, which as we know he doesn't, because he dies as when he's around Archer's age, which is what, 30, 30, 39 at most. I'm not sure, but like 39 at most. At most, he looks like he could be like 32 or 33. So I don't know at what age Shiro died exactly, but as we know, at least his Archer version dies pretty young while actively saving people. So
Care if his life ends if it's for the sake of others. I
exactly,
want to make that distinction clear to avoid any confusion on the matter.
because if anything, he could just jump
Having
off a bridge,
established the nature of Shiro's refusal to accept help as being a byproduct of his survivor's guilt, it should also be noted that Shiro has conflicted feelings towards Archer as well, something that was alluded to sometime before the scene at the temple. Shiro
Yep.
has not made it a secret that he doesn't like Archer, and Archer similarly has shown disdain for Shiro, something that becomes incredibly ironic given a certain reveal that comes later in the story. There is a scene early on where Archer looks after Shiro as he walks home, which spurs their first one-on-one discussion. Let's take a quick look at the scene in question.
I feel bad for Tusaka, partnering with such a cynical guy.
Man, I'm stunned. Are you still saying such things? I will warn you. Do not worry about your servant's personality. We are only summoned to fight. We are only a tool bound by the command spell. You guys have total control over us, so ignore what your tool has to say.
I can't tell him that's not the case. Archer, the one bound by the command spell, said is definitely true. I can't think of Saber as a tool. But it's true that Saber is bound by the command spell.
So why did you stop me? Do not tell me it's something as ridiculous as wanting to make friends with me.
I don't have a reason. I just didn't like him. So I wanted to complain to him.
The purpose of this scene is to do a bit of foreshadowing, but also to demonstrate that there's clear friction between these two characters early on. Shiro conceding to Archer's logic regarding Saber is an especially potent blow, because he knows that Archer is correct in a more objective sense. But emotionally,
But he
can't
just
agree
can't
with the
accept
notion
it,
that
yeah.
he should view Saber purely as a tool. In the face of Archer's cold pragmatism, Shiro can't help but want to rebel, even if on some level he knows he's right. However, part of the conflict is that Shiro is also correct in his own way. Saber has been treated purely as a tool before during the events of Fate Zero, and that didn't work out so well. Unlike what happened during Fate Zero, Saber actually trusts Shiro as opposed to her prior master, because he doesn't treat her purely as a tool, making his
Makes
method
sense.
ostensibly irregular for the Holy Grail War, but effective nonetheless. While Shiro understands that what Archer is saying is correct, that doesn't necessarily mean that what Archer is saying should be completely trusted. Since the anime only adapts the spoken dialogue during this scene, and not the inner monologue of Shiro's conflict regarding what Archer tells him, it becomes more difficult for the audience to understand Shiro's fundamental dislike of Archer, therefore making the previously detailed outburst during the Archer vs. Castor battle seem even more childish. What's interesting and important about this scene, however, is that Shiro rarely speaks poorly of others. Saber, in a scene shortly after the confrontation between Archer and Castor, points this out to Shiro as he chastises Archer for his pragmatic worldview.
So basically, I'm noticing a pattern, and is that the anime adaptation pretty much excluded all of Shiro's inner monologue, which is important because in a situation where a character seems a certain way, an inner monologue can tell the viewer that no, this is actually what's going on in his head, which is something that most of us do in real life. Like we might say something while actually thinking another. So that's why inner monologues, and that's why most animes do this, where they spend minutes upon minutes, um, like going over someone's inner thought process, But it is important in a story sense. Some stories like not stories, but some series like TV shows, like Game of Thrones, Arrow, The Flash, all of those, like they don't have inner monologues, but when something happens later on in the episode, we see the character explaining some way somehow why that happened. So it's not an inner monologue per se, but at least we get an explanation as to why the character did what he did. So anime usually goes for the inner monologue type, which is understandable, honestly. Like it's better to have an inner monologue, uh, because like it's animation, it's not shot by camera, it's not shot by real people, where it's easier to just create an extra scene. For anime, it's actually easier to freeze the character, or freeze on a single frame and just play their thought process. It's actually easier, which is why I believe anime goes the route of inner monologues.
It's rare for you to insult someone. I've only been with you for a few days, but I understand that you are not one to insult others.
Indeed, it should strike one as odd given Shiro's general behavior towards others. This is a way of cluing the reader in on how Shiro's disposition towards Archer is not only irregular, but more than likely specific to Archer. However, prior to their first discussion, Shiro himself didn't really understand why he doesn't like Archer. Shiro's initial dislike is a guttural, emotional reaction that he can't quite put his finger on. This early back and forth where Shiro starts to get to know Archer helps him begin to understand what it is exactly about Archer that rubs him the wrong way, as illustrated by his internal conflict over seeing Saber as a person rather than a tool. This acts as the first real spark that will eventually evolve into the next scene during the Archer versus Castor confrontation, particularly just after Archer successfully dispatches Castor as he stops her from continuing her energy beam attack.
I see. Then you two are alike.
Huh? Alike? Me and Archer?
I remember that scene.
What makes her say that?
Am I wrong? You both do not like meaningless killings, right? That boy over there cannot stand a servant like me who feeds on innocent people. You don't like meaningless killings. See, it's exactly the same. Is that not why you two are cooperating?
You idiot! How can you reach that conclusion? Who would ally with such a guy?
I feel the same way. We're both pacifists, but our principles are different. It is my principle to take care of problems early on. I do not ponder forever like this man.
What do you mean by pacifist? I still remember you shot at Saber along with Berserker, even though you were hiding in a safe place while Saber was out fighting.
Couldn't be helped. We were not cooperating back then. It's just that defeating Berserker came before Saber's safety. Or what? Don't tell me to save everyone I see. If that is the case, Berserker would have to be saved as well, and I would not be able to fight him.
We glare at one another. Man, I just can't get along with him. Why does everything he says get on my nerves?
Castor in this scene
I'll answer that question. Is because like since as we know, Shiro is, well, Archer is the future version of Shiro. So basically, um, sh- like everything Archer says is the complete opposite of Shiro, of the present day Shiro. It's like the complete opposite, which is what even everything. I'm talking about their attitude, uh, everything. The only thing similar about them, honestly, is their fighting style, which Shiro actually learned from watching Archer. So that's the only thing similar that they have, honestly.
And pretty effectively touches on some nerves by comparing the two of them directly, which only serves to make Archer and Shiro resent each other even more. However, what's truly of note here is how Shiro reacts to Archer's methods. Shiro is the kind of person that goes out of his way to try and save everyone, while Archer is far more pragmatic and is willing to let innocent lives be lost if it contributes to a larger goal. Archer follows the doctrine of the lives of the many outweigh the lives of the few. Shiro, being an idealist, finds Archer's cold pragmatism sickening, despite the fact that, unbeknownst to Shiro, Archer more closely follows in the footsteps of a very important figure in Shiro's life, Kiritsugu,
Here's so good.
Shiro's adopted father. It is a very intriguing dosage of
Which is messed up because Shiro actually met Kiritsugu after Kiritsugu was retired. So Shiro didn't actually get to see that side of Kiritsugu. They spoke, about their ideals, but Shiro actually never got to see that side of Kiritsugu.
dramatic irony when you consider that Shiro's idealism also comes from Kiritsugu himself. Shiro wanted to become a hero because Kiritsugu himself wanted to be one but felt that he failed in the process, and that by the time he adopted Shiro that it was too late for him. Hearing this, Shiro decided to become the hero that he felt Kiritsugu wanted to be in his stead, in essence a vicarious embodiment of Kiritsugu's true ideal. Now while Kiritsugu did believe that the lives of the many outweighed the lives of the few, it stems from the more core belief that the ends justifies the means.
The means, yeah.
Kiritsugu wanted to achieve world peace and an end to all conflict no matter the cost. There's enough to discuss concerning Kiritsugu's character to dedicate his own video to, so I won't delve much deeper, but for the purposes of this video, it's important to note the influence he had on Shiro.
I'll look for that video because for me, Kiritsugu was
and his desire to
very,
fulfill his
very
adopted
interesting
father's
character.
wish, suddenly Shiro's character starts to appear much more cracked and twisted. Shiro feels guilty because he thinks he shouldn't have survived the initial trauma, but he survived because his adoptive father saved him. Shiro then began to idolize Kiritsugu as a hero for saving him, and on Kiritsugu's deathbed he confided in Shiro that he failed to be the hero he wanted to be, which prompted Shiro to take up his mantle. Shiro, as a result, is now a selfless idealist, born from guilt and the desire to fulfill his surrogate father's dying wish. It becomes a disturbing Ouroboros in that he idealizes the very thing that makes him feel unworthy of life. Guilt from being a survivor, yet idealization for the one that saved him. It's really no wonder why Shiro is so mentally unstable, even if it doesn't seem like he is at first glance. Getting back to the third part of this equation, we're not done with Archer just
It's like
yet. Well, we've gone
his
over why
thoughts
Shiro
are
finds
constantly
Archer morally
contradicting
repugnant.
each
It might
other.
shock you to find out that he's also fascinated by him. This aspect of Shiro's disposition towards Archer is regrettably downplayed and arguably absent in the anime adaptations. So let's go over a few instances where Shiro reveals his subconscious infatuation. During the Archer vs. Caster fight, Shiro makes an almost obsessive note of Archer's swords.
Archer is still holding on to those swords. His red clothing. His black and white short swords are both beautiful, and they captivate me. This is indeed strange. Am I captivated by those swords? They must be great swords with history, but yet I feel no malice for them. Unrefined twin swords made without a will, as if to question the meaning of the swordsmith. I think those are swords like that. Mirrored swords without vanity. black and white, strange swords that represent yin and yang. I am captivated because their existence is just too beautiful.
Now it should be noted
Wow.
that a big part of the reason why Shiro went into such slavish detail into how he felt about these swords is because Shiro is infatuated with swords in general, not
That's crazy. You know why? Because like in the anime, it just made it seem like he just copied uh Archer's swords for no apparent reason, other than just to just copy Archer, which contradicts what the anime is trying to say. Because in the anime, he hates Archer, and we don't hear any of this inner monologue, right? So in the series, in the anime series, he hates Archer with a passion. So it makes no sense that he will try to emulate Archer.
just Archer's swords specifically. However, I bring it up because this is the first time Shiro has done this up to this point, despite also seeing Berserker's sword and not dedicating nearly as much headspace for it by comparison. This inner monologue is supposed
Well, Berserker's sword is kind of weird because it's not really a sword. It's pretty much like made out of stone, but it's also a type of sword that can only be wielded by someone who has immense physical strength. So it's not something that will captivate Shiro's eye, because even if he even if he did like it, he most likely wouldn't be able to wield it.
to serve two main purposes. Firstly, to emphasize how strongly Shiro does in fact feel about swords, which ties
Sorry. So by the way, like if you see Berserker's sword, it's a huge one-handed sword. So you see the difference there. It's a one-handed sword. So obviously you got to be pretty damn strong to wield it.
back up narratively at a later point. But secondly, and more importantly for what we're discussing, it is also to show his growing admiration for Archer, particularly because this line of thought occurs just before he tells Archer he doesn't want his help. This clearly demonstrates that there's much more to Shiro's behavior in relation to Archer. A little after the fight with Castor, Archer also goes up against another servant known as Assassin. Here, the two
Yes,
of them
that
duke
fight
it
was
out in a
awesome.
one-on-one sword fight.
Too bad we didn't get to
Here's
see the
where
ending.
things get really interesting.
They attack each other with amazing techniques. I'm quite fascinated by the scene. To be honest, I can't understand Assassin's technique. Even to my experienced eyes, it's just way too fast and too sharp. But maybe that's why I am fascinated by his technique. The twin dancing swords. Archer is defending Assassin's incomprehensible attacks with a technique I might be able to acquire. To be honest, you could say I admire it. He is fighting off Assassin's demonic technique with techniques only trained by his will and not his natural talent. Damn, it's natural that he's strong. Strength unlike Tosaka or Saber. All the training he went through because he's not extraordinary. He probably had nothing. That's why he took the small thing he had, trained it with all his might, and got it to that level.
Here, we see Shiro almost plainly admitting that he admires Archer, but more
Wow, that's crazy. That's insane. So wow. So basically, like just with that little scene that they could have included, made Shiro's and Archer's relationship development go up by leaps and bounds. Basically, in the anime, they pretty much downplayed Shiro wanting to fight like Archer, like like incredibly. So basically, what they did was like usually like by this point, Shiro used to train with Saber every morning, right? So basically, what they did was like um have they had Shiro grab two swords and said, "Oh, I think his style fits me," which again, stupid because we didn't get to hear this, right? But it sounds stupid because you coming off as childish because you're trying to copy someone that you apparently hate, right? So it just comes off as like real childish, you know. So it's crazy because with this inner monologue, it changes that completely and makes Shiro look and sound way more mature.
Full admiration. He very specifically sees himself in Archer. This is because Shiro understands what it means to not be extraordinary and to work hard with what little he does have. Shiro is barely a mage and is only able to perform a couple of
Yeah,
low-level spells, and yet he's thrust into a battle royale with adversaries he can't possibly compare to. Yet in the midst of this chaos, he sees Archer, a man he can't stand on principle, but begrudgingly respects and admires for his skill. This reverence stems from the understanding of the hard work and determination it took for him to take his lack of talent and to temper it into a highly specialized skill. With all this in mind, I would say it becomes very clear as to why Shiro is so conflicted with Archer. He sees himself in someone that is like a funhouse mirror of his ideals, similar enough in some respects, but the differences are like a mockery for what he stands for. However, behind those ideals is a man that he can't deny he desperately wants to become. A lot to unpack for what is a simple scene of him yelling at someone to let him go, don't you think? Now, I want to
for
say
real.
that the purpose of this video was not to dissuade anyone from watching or enjoying the anime. If you have strong, positive feelings for it, I think that's great. The purpose of this video was simply to explore and explain why fans have such differing perspectives on Shiro Emiya. I hope this video has cleared some misconceptions and hopefully sparked some interest in the Fate Stay Night visual novel. I want to thank all of my friends who lended their voice acting talents for the video. I'm sure most would agree that me trying to quote the lines of the female characters in particular would have been less than desirable. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I look forward to seeing you again next time.
All right, guys. So wow, this was crazy. This was crazy. So I'm definitely gonna look for that Kirutsuku video. I don't know if he did it or not, but I'm gonna check it out if he did, and I'll probably react to it just because like it was a good video, and it's crazy. Like Shiro definitely seems way more mature in the visual novel, and the anime certainly did not do him justice. Like his character is a lot more complex than the anime lets on, and it's crazy. Like, and just by this video, you can see why readers of the visual novel actually likes Shiro so much, you know. So with that being said, guys, thank you guys for watching. This was a pretty awesome video. I really enjoyed it. I hope you did as well. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. As I always say, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Please help me out. Please help us support the channel. And with that being said, have a nice day and catch you guys in the next one. Pow!